verify what you see. So first, does it carry intrinsic value? What is intrinsic value? This is yod. This is connected to spiritual touch. But intrinsic value is a solemn gravity. And gravity is meant in the sense of both senses of the word, not just gravity as a literal example, meaning as a figurative, not just figuratively, literally. Does it carry a solemn gravity, which is also holiness? The second one is a consilience. Consilience means the consilience of your five senses, which are the regular senses of. Everyone, don't forget to join the Greenwood Fellowship on my website. It's incredibly rewarding and beneficial to have a walled garden of other serious people on this path of initiation, to share experience and wisdom together as we all progress. You'll have access to membership videos, the second half of all lectures and streams, monthly think tanks with senior members, senior group streams on our YouTube, and soon in-person events, conferences and meetups. Please join the fellowship. Horizontal, which everyone has, but we're talking about the unconscious faculties here, which are to be developed over time, that begins with the practices we talked about last week, and watch that stream if you want to see them. Concentration without effort, it's called. Those details are there in that stream. And also, speaking of that, we talk about these practices and we are developing together in the fellowship, the Greenwood Fellowship. Go to scottmanuel.com/membership for the second half of this stream and be a part of that fellowship. It's very rewarding to be doing this with other people at the same time. And so, moving on from that point, we're talking about consilience. The consilience is between all these different faculties together to build a certainty. So what are they? Those different things. Say a factical miracle happens. It happens like a coinciding of active imagination, which we'll describe later, mystical touch or spiritual touch, which we'll describe later, and the magic sense, which we'll describe as we go on. Do they coincide together like your regular senses do? The next one is constructive fruitfulness. Does this bring about over time a growing health, a miraculous growing health, in fact, because it's also about the know-how of how to collaborate with grace. Does it bring a balance, healing, a health, an awakening of the heart? A demechanizing of the being of man, which is the old Adam, the old wine, as the Wedding of Cana talks about, the derivative serpentine, polemical will to power, is that slowly converted to the health of the new Adam and the seven I ams. For a virginal Zoe, which is a different type of energy and health. Is the whole human being made more healthy by this? Does it have a heuristic value, in other words, over time? Because a bad tree doesn't bear good fruit. There's the Jesus's parable about that. He's saying about that, the good tree and the bad tree. And so it's a becoming over time. It's revealed in the subjective and objective. So the constructive fruitfulness is also about the concordance of the miraculous as well. It's which is connected with the magic sense, as we'll see later. But okay, past that, 4, concordance, and this is connected to the criterion of truth from idealism and realism. Concordance and correspondence. Does it concord with the laws of a priori laws, logic? Does it concord with previous revelation, to interior and exterior experience, or authentic interior and exterior experience, which is beginning to come about, and to the revelation of other people who are to be trusted and have health, of the past and present, the saints, Valentin Tomberg, people that we know have balance, honesty, and all the qualities of objective morality, which you, who happens to be a person that you can interact with and become, as orthodoxy well understands in theosis, becoming God. And here's a key touchstone. Does the spiritual experience make you humble? Or does it make you more pretentious? Authentic spiritual experience never makes you it's authentic. It never makes you pretentious, makes you more humble. So it's a key touchstone. But there's more, of course. There's more, and we'll see that when we start talking about the primary and secondary senses themselves. But this is a personal certainty criterion of truth, but we're going to go further into it. Here we look at also the hermit, which you should be able to see there. The hermit, the noble hermit, with his triple touchstone, which are similar to what we're talking about here. His lamp, that is clarity. The clarity of logic and the a priori thought. We're not surrendering logic with this. We're not surrendering this stuff. It begins with a loosening. Because if you're already here, you've begun through people's like Heidegger and Jung to loosen the bullshit of modernity scientism until we can have a true contact with truth outside of idea superstructures. The idea superstructures are the dead bark and are keeping us from contact or true episteme with truth, which is sent as direct understanding and can be, as we'll see. And so, I forgot to mention with the concordance too, is it's a mix of correspondence because it's about authentic experience, which comes from realism, right? And this is really about logoism, which is, of course, the ground of the object and the subject is the logos, as you discover in this process and meet. And so, okay, the lamp. Verum sine mendatio. This is a old touchstone from Hermeticism. That which is clear. Serum, the mantle plus the lamp, that which is clear in concordance with all other truths. Vericium, stick, mantle, lamp. And you can see how the stick matches up with the interior and exterior experience we were talking about. The stick plus the mantle plus the lamp that the hermit has, the concordance of that which is clear with all other truths and all authentic and immediate experience. That is logoism. Another way of putting it is the concordance of that which is clear in harmony with the totality of revealed truths and that which is the object of immediate experience. And the totality of revealed truth is connected to his cloak, which is also silence, which is also the gift of black perfection, which is also Mary Sophia, which you have access to. And is something you can ask questions to, as we'll see. So it's not a matter of thought, it's the other faculties that will become more clear. But truly it only becomes clear when you start to do it. And all of this is every week is not a superstructure, idea superstructure. You don't turn it into one. This is simply all of it, and everything I say is always about how to ask, to seek, and to knock, as the Lord talks about. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door will be open. That's all this is. But the truth criterion helps you how to authentically and find truth in your knocking, seeking, and asking. And so another way of seeing the lamp of the light is the a priori knowledge of intelligence, the light, the mantle, silence, the harmony of all by analogy, which will become clear later, the stick, certainty of authentic, immediate, internal, and external experience. And we've just talked about the rest of that stuff. So let's move on to the next one. Another way of putting this is to help you understand. Personal certainty is the fruit of total knowledge, of the depth of feeling, willing, and thinking, and the agreement of the conscious and unconscious, but also those who we trust more than ourselves, as I talked about with saints and revelation. It's the if the following say yes to it: logical thinking, moral judgment and conscience, internal and external experience, the sense of bodily and spiritual health, the experience of others who champion it, those who are clear thinking, serious, balanced, and honest of the present and the past. And this is really important, this part, which is why I'm looking at it a bit more closely. The content of what you're certain of must be thinkable, feelable, and willable, which means simultaneously good, true, and beautiful. And those three things are the way, truth, and the life. The true is the true. The way is the good. The good is a way, is divine will. So the way Plato puts them, good, true, and beautiful, they kind of seem like end states, but it's the way, truth, and life. But what do they correspond to? And the beautiful is the life, virginal zoe, as we talked about. It's moral, moral luster. Those three things are the presence of the way, truth, and life that is he and are sensible. So what you're certain, and this is similar to what we've been talking about, is that what you're certain of will be fruitful for the life of thought, will, and feeling, have a heuristic value, must have an effect of broadening the soul and giving moral impetus to moral life. But here's a way of putting it to sort of get a sense of what these things do. If it's not beautiful, if it's not the life and true, it doesn't give the impetus, which is a feeling, to moral life. And that impetus is not, if it's beautiful on its own, like aesthetics, it doesn't have that infused love in it. It's just sort of trying to attract you like vitalising. It's just, oh, I want to watch that. It's beautiful. You know what I mean? Because you can have life on its own or beauty on its own, but they always come together. They're always a unity. So that's what this is explaining. It's not moral if it's on its own. It's not good, it's not the way and true if it doesn't broaden the heart. If it's not true and it's not good. Oh, sorry, it's not good and true if it doesn't broaden the heart. Because those two things together are what needs to be added to, like I said, the beautiful. Those two things will broaden willed good, love into the world, will broaden because that's what you're doing. You're leaving the will to power and you're healing this ground of your being that lusts after more at the expense of others. You're healing that to become a service of the divine, to be a divine saving into reality. And if it doesn't lead to deeper knowledge, it's not good. It's not the way or beautiful. It's not the life. If it doesn't have those two things, they always do go deeper and deeper and deeper into divine emotiveness. It must make the whole human being more healthy in spirit, soul, and body, clearer, calmer, more compassionate, and balanced. It must rest on personal experience or extension of personal experience by analogy, or on the experience of other people who have that health that, like we talked about. And so what's a general frame of approaching this? Let's look at the points here for a second. This is so important. Father Seraphim Rose has a book, or it's a book based on a lecture, which is The Way to the Heart. And he talks about these things. Also, Valentin Tomberg has 2 chapters on the card on the Tower of Babel, the Devil card, but also the Joy card, the World card, where he talks about this as well. Don't seek, if you're doing this, or even watching this to know these things, you have to primarily be seeking the truth, which ends up being him. You don't seek joy. You can't seek joy or the spiritual experience itself for its own sake. It has to be truth. That has to be the overarching goal, to find he who is truth in love and willed good. If you don't, you will get what you're after, and it won't be true. It won't be the good. and you can guess who it'll be otherwise. That's the danger. And here's an example of this that Father Seraphim Rose talks about. He met Aldous Huxley. This is why Seraphim Rose is so interesting. He met a lot of these guys like Alan Watts in that movement in America in the 60s and 70s where all the problems happened. He found the truth. They didn't. Alan Watts ended up a drunk. So it was almost, it was an aesthetic for him, the Zen meditation, but also because it doesn't work ultimately. But, well, it does, but in a way that is, it depersonalizes. But he ends up a drunk anyway. But Aldous Huxley, when they were talking, Father Seraphim Rose, he said, better any experience of spirituality than this modernity. And what happened to him? Through mescaline use, he burnt himself. So a big thank you to all our members, contributors, producers, who you see here in this plaque of honor. Without your financial help, this fellowship wouldn't be possible at all.